led by Vladimir Lenin, seized power and destroyed the tradition of Tsarist rule, and new communist government was established. There are political, economic, and social aspects that contributed to Russian Revolution. Imperialism and communism are the two ideals for a government. Imperialism is an approach to foreign policy where its goal is to acquire as many territories as possible to exploit resources, whereas communism is a one-party political system in which shares all societies' resources for good of all in the society. Lenin was inspired by Karl Marx, who both saw colonialism as a part of a global capitalist system. Imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism, and Lenin thought that capitalism causes a crisis in the society, and this conflict allows us to understand the Russian Revolution better. All in all, Lenin adapted Marxist theories to the conditions of Russia, emphasizing the need for a vanguard party to lead proletariat in the revolution. Zimmerwald conference in 1915 was a significant gathering of socialist parties and anti-war activists during World War I. The aim of the conference to address the growing disappointment along socialists with their respective governments' participation in the war, because they believed that the war was being fought for imperialist aims rather than the interests of working class. In the archives, it was documented as the ruling powers of capitalist society who let the fate of the nations in their hands. The monarchic as well as the republican governments, the diplomacy, all these bear the full weight responsibility for this war, who arose of the society, the social order fostering them and protected them, and which is being waged for their interests. Workers exploited this franchise, scorned. They call you brothers and comrades at the outbreak of the war, when you were led to this to be slaughtered to death, and know that militarism has crippled you, mutilated you, degraded and annihilated you. The rulers demand that you surrender your interests, your aims, your ideals. They rob you of the possibility of expressing your views, your feelings, your pains. They prohibit you from raising demands and deflecting them. Proletarians of all countries unite. Although the Zimmerwald conference didn't have immediate practical results, it laid groundwork for future anti-war and socialist movements.
The Bolshevik Revolution had profound impacts on social life in Russia. Before 1917, Bolsheviks defined themselves as the leader of proletariat, yet in the 1917, Bolshevik Party turned into the representation of the workers' and soldiers' revolution. Despite aiming for a dictatorship of the proletariat, they soon faced challenges from within their own ranks, revealing disloyalty among the working class. Embracing Marxism, they viewed society through a class-based lens, seeing Russia as predominantly capitalist before the war. However, the social structure was ill-suited for a worker-led government, limiting its impact mainly to urban areas and certain regions. The upheavals of war and revolution led to the destruction of the class system, with the old elite suffering losses while some middle-class groups collapsed under war communism. Despite attempts to address social issues, the revolutionaries lacked experience, sidelining the educated class and diminishing their influence. Praise, censorship, and scarcity of resources further highlighted the challenges of radical rule. Women played diverse roles in the revolution, from workers to soldiers. shaping its outcomes and reshaping society norms. Overall, the Bolshevik Revolution had significant and lasting effects on the fabric of Russian social life.
The economic part of the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917 was a big reason why Russia changed so much, socially and politically. People were really unhappy because there was a lot of poverty, unfairness, and people being taken advantage of under the old system. Lenin came back to Russia and said some important things called the April thesis. He basically said that banks and big businesses should be owned by the government, that land should be given to farmers, and that the government should have all the power. Lenin's ideas started big changes in how Russia's economy worked. The government took control of important things like coal, steel, and transportation to make sure they were used to help everyone, not just make rich people richer. They also gave land from rich landowners to farmers to make things more fair. The government also took over banks to plan how money was used, like for building things or helping people who needed it. This helped the government decide where money went and how to make life better for regular people. In conclusion, the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 reshaped Russia's economy, social, and political landscape. Economically, it led to states' control over industry and finance. Socially, it redistributed land and empowered previously marginalized groups. Politically, power centralized under the Soviets, marking a shift towards proletarian rule. These interconnected chains laid the foundation for a new society, challenging capitalism and striving for a more equitable future.
Новый аппарат управления в лице советских организаций. Отныне наступает новая полоса в истории России, и данная третья русская революция должна будет в своем конечном итоге привести к победе социализма.